going to get back into the Commanders' second preseason game and really what you've seen through 2 games. And I'm wondering if your opinions have changed or what are you thinking about this team overall 2 weeks in? I will say before the season started, before the preseason started, we each had predictions of how the team would fare. I have them going 8-9 or 7-10. I'd have to check. I don't know that it's changed. I've been impressed with Jaden, but I do think the questions remain at wide receiver. We spent some time talking about the second receiver. They definitely have a huge question mark at kicker, and that could end up costing them a game or two in the regular season. And then I don't know if the defense is going to be able to get to the opposing quarterbacks. But you got to like what you've seen from Jaden Daniels. A cynic would say he, averaged 6.5 yards per pass attempt this week. They were short passes.
I think that's pretty short-sighted.
He had good ball placement.
I think he's just managed everything very, very well. Look, you'd like to have seen maybe a few more scores, some more points. So it's a little bit, you maybe a little unsettled there. But by and large, I think our quarterback situation I feel great about, as good as you could feel at this point. Running back situation, Brian Robinson has impressed me. I got to give him a hat tip because I've been a little underwhelmed with him. But this preseason looks great. Eckler is the unknown. If Eckler, he's the X factor. Because if he's the Eckler of a couple years ago, I mean, you're talking about a dynamic player. And then the receivers, even though there hasn't been a clear-cut sort of number 2 guy jump out at you, I do think they have plenty of guys there that can run the routes, that can catch the ball, move the football. Tight end is good. The only question is the O-line, but Jaden's going to help that O-line a lot by getting rid of the ball quickly.
And I think the designed runs are going to put defenses on their heels.
Totally. So I think offensively, this may sound crazy because we're 0-2 and we didn't really score any points in the preseason, really. I think offensively, we're going to be okay. We're going to be fine.
They have 10 points in Jaden's 3 drives, and it should be 13 if the guy makes the field goal.
I think the offensive line is a concern. I think the secondary is a concern.
Secondary, I'm concerned about.
Kicker, obviously, we'll see what happens there. Concern. And after McLaurin, you just, like you said, just have a bunch of guys.
Yeah, a bunch of guys, but I think they can do it.
Are you more or less optimistic about the season, or are you about the same?
I haven't changed.
I'm about the same.
Yeah, I haven't changed.
I'm about the same.
Would you predict 7 wins?
Yeah, I got them at 7.
I mean, that's fine. That's a low
I think the first month and a half will be telling. I think it's going to be difficult for an entirely new roster with a rookie quarterback and possibly a rookie left tackle. I think it's going to be a difficult first 6 weeks. If they can come out of that 3-3, that's pretty darn good.
Jason has them at 7. I have them at 8, and you have them at 9 with the asterisk that you want to say.
He wants to put 10.
I want to pick more.
All right, let's go to the phones. You want to chime in? 800-636-1067.
Play the music, Valdez. Come on, I'm fired up. I like what I'm seeing.
We talked about Jaden's play specifically earlier in the show, and if you look at our poll today, most people are giving him A-, B+. I gave him an A-, and I don't even really know why.
I gave him an A.
Because he didn't slide. I don't know. He threw a lot of sideways passes, but you got to like what you've seen from Jaden. But overall, it's not like I'm blown away by the team. It's hard to be blown away when you're not scoring that much. Jeff Driscoll actually jumped out at me, but he's not going to play this year.
Driscoll jumped out at me both times. That's going to be a hard cut.
Yeah. Maybe they cut Mariota. They said Driscoll beat him out.
Mariota hasn't done much.
He didn't play in this game.
All right, let's go to, let me see here. Let's go to Jose in Miami. 800-636-1067 if you want to chime in. Are you fired up? I know I'm fired up, and we're freaking 0-2. Jose, what's up, bud?
What's up, gentlemen?
What's up?
So I was actually at the game on Saturday. My buddy gave me tickets. I took my son. A couple observations that I had. I thought the pace that Jaden had behind his balls when he threw to the sideline was great.
Mm-hmm.
It looked like he could get it there easy. His run, I thought, was the most impressive. I mean, when I say it was effortless, how he was able to get to the side and just move past guys, and he didn't look like he was even trying. And that was just one run. I think he's going to be so dangerous with his legs. The thing that concerned me the most was, I think, the kicking. I think, the league now, with the fact that, we're going to be missing extra points. We're going to have to start – I think the most important thing, we're going to have to start going for it on 4th down, especially when we're, in that 40, 30-yard range. If they're going to have to change their play calling, that's going to affect us even more, especially in close games. And I know we're going to lose at least 2 or 3 games because if they can't figure out the kicking.
Right. No, I agree with you there.
Yeah.
For sure. All right. Thank you, Jose. Appreciate it, buddy. 800-636-1067 if you want to chime in.
He does almost seem to glide on the field. Like, it's just so effortless. Now, there was good blocking there. You know, when I think of quarterbacks sometimes like that perform like Jaden Daniels and look at the numbers, I'm like, well, what if they put the other guy in there? What would he have been able to do? I think the passing, like if you put Jeff Driscoll back there, would have been similar. He wasn't asked to do that much. It was quick, 3-step drop, boom.
Right.
Get rid of the ball, 5-yard gain.
Yeah,
And
but I think he has better ball placement than Driscoll. I like Driscoll.
Okay, I said so. I mean,
so I think some of those passes wouldn't have been completed.
Oh, okay, maybe. But the running is what's going to separate him.
I keep going back.
That's a weapon. I mean, that's
a
huge weapon.
That's a huge weapon for any quarterback who can do that.
I keep going back to the Hard Knocks where Dable's sitting there in that meeting and they're asking, does anybody want to trade up for Jaden? He goes, oh, yeah. Like right away.
Yeah.
Like that made a huge impression on me.
Also, the pass to Bates, it reminded me of the RG3 years where RG3 would run that fake run, pull the ball out, and just make an easy pass. Boom, first down. Like I remember so many times he would do that because the linebackers come up.
He's basically making
because they have
and then the tight end's wide open in the middle. Yeah.
And then boom, and that I think they called it. I hadn't heard that term, a pop pass. Okay, he threw a pop pass, but it was a little low. Good catch by Bates there.
What was so impressive?
It was a good gain,
and it doesn't show up in the stats. Is all the different looks that Miami was giving him in the preseason. So they had different guys in the box, different guys blitzing, and he was picking it up. And he was calling it out. And he was telling B-Rob, you got this guy. He's hot. Like, it's very impressive. His knowledge is just as impressive as his arm, quick release, and accuracy.
Probably helped that he practiced against him, too.
I'm sure it helped a little bit.
Practice, yeah.
But I think also just him playing 5 years of college football helped.
Yeah,
right?
sure.
And playing at a super high level the last few years.
Also helped he didn't have to go against Jalen Ramsey.
That's true. And a lot of other starters.
Jimmy in Fairfax, 800-636-1067 if you want to chime in. Are you happy where you're at? I'm pretty freaking happy where we are offensively. I have some questions defensively, no doubt. Jimmy, what's up, buddy?
Hey, listen, thanks for taking my call. Listen, by the way, I don't think I've ever called into a radio station before, and full disclosure, I'm a Giants fan. But
yeah.
I gotta take you guys to task. Are you really evaluating Daniel Jones 9 months off of an ACL surgery in preseason?
A little
is
bit.
Is that where it's at right now?
A little bit.
Why can't we evaluate him? His head coach is evaluating him.
His head coach is evaluating him because he's been damaged goods because he's had the snot beaten out of him because that offensive line has been a seed.
Yeah,
but it's decision making.
Well, I'm not just
nobody to throw it to.
I'm not just evaluating him over the preseason.
They finally, after 5 years, drafted him a legitimate wide receiver. That guy's had no one to throw the ball to. In 5 years, he's had the dregs of society to throw the ball to. Saquon Barkley was the most talented player they had on offense,
that is
and
true.
He was injured half the time.
That is true.
Now, if your quarterback has got no offensive line and nobody to throw it to, like you talk about Sam Howell last year, Sam Howell had no offensive line, but a lot of the critics said that he also ran into his sacks. But Sam Howell had wide receivers and tight ends to throw the ball to. Daniel Jones didn't have an offensive line, and he had no weapons. No weapons. People were laughing, saying that other teams' second and third wide receivers would start on the Giants. That's how bad they were offensively. And by the way, you've got their old offensive line coach who had a lot of injuries last year, but, man, they're already saying this year that the offensive line for the Giants, it's preseason, but they look like a cohesive unit. So they got a chance to be halfway decent.
So you're not discouraged. You're not discouraged.
I think Daniel Jones is going to be an issue. I don't care if it's because of the injury or not.
Rusty coming off an ACL, absolutely.
He's going to be an issue.
I wouldn't judge it off of game 2 of the preseason. Oh, by the way, who's he going against? The Houston Texans, which will probably be in the AFC Championship this year, going against the Kansas City Chiefs. So
I'm telling you.
I would knock it. If Jones is this bad in Game 6 and 7 of the regular season, well, then the Giants will just cut him loose at the end of the
Okay,
year.
that's
and that'll
fair,
be
but
the
you
end of it.
can't say that we can't have an opinion and
Yeah.
have
You
a
gotta-
judgment on him when the head coach. I'm going to read you the quotes from the head coach. Tough to win a game when you turn the ball over 5 times. Start with that. So one, decision back in our end zone.
Did he turn the
Give
ball
up a
over
score.
5 times?
No, he
One-on-one,
turned it
twice.
over twice.
And I'll give him credit. He had a
turned
good.
it
He had
over
a good.
twice.
He had a good
The
pass to
first
Neighbors.
one was a bad decision. The second
Yep.
one was a jump ball that the cornerback.
The
Stingley
bad
got.
decision, though, for a guy as experienced as him, it had
9
nothing to do with
months.
his ACL.
9 months. First time on the field in 9 months. You don't
Yeah.
think that counts for something?
But
It's
as
called
Jason
shaking
said, he
the
has a
rust off.
history.
He's got a history of it. And you can say it's because there was no
In
offensive
his
line and no
first
receiver.
2 years, he cut down to. Why did he get the contract then 2 years ago?
Because they were desperate and they had no other direction to go in.
No.
He had
Because
a
That's
very
exactly
good
why.
year.
And it
Pretty
was
damn
risky.
He
good.
had a very good year that year.
He had a good year, and
it
that
was
was Daboll's
Daboll's
first year in the
first year.
offensive system. Last year,
It wasn't that good of a year. I mean, he didn't. How many touchdowns did he throw? 15?
Here's what you're going to say. You're going to go, oh, he only threw 16 touchdowns. Again, who is he throwing the ball to? He's had to work with Jim Nagy, who is the executive senior assistant of the Reese's Pro Bowl, said nobody's had less to work with than Daniel Jones. Had to do more with less.
All right, we got it. I got it.
I
All right,
can't
thank
believe
you.
you're
Hey,
such
Jimmy,
a-
Thank you. Appreciate it.
I can't believe you're such a Daniel Jones fan.
No,
I'm sorry.
I'm telling you. This. Remember, I've been alluding to this for several years.
Yeah.
New Yorkers, there's a strong contingent that believe in Daniel Jones. There's a strong contingent.
I just-
I'm not
I don't know
convinced
why.
the coach believes in him and the GM believes in him. But I'm telling you, the fans, there's a strong contingent.
Will you text Vinny, tell him to call in because I want to see if he's still on the Daniel Jones train as well.
It actually reminds me
You
of
wanna talk
the
to-
Sam
Yeah.
Howell contingent that they're the
I think he's
contingent
got 2-a-days
until
today.
they're not. You know what I mean? They're defending their guy until they don't, so they can get better.
Yeah, look,
You know what? I'm going to text you his number. Go ahead.
I'll put money on it that they go in a different direction at quarterback than Daniel Jones next year.
I'd put the same money on
I'd
it.
put money on that.
I just didn't like the
And
decision.
losing Barkley is good. Yeah, you add Neighbors, okay, but losing Barkley's huge for them.
All right, let's go to John.
Neighbors did make
And
a
don't
great
tell me
catch.
that Jones is only a bad quarterback throwing picks because he had no receivers to throw to. That's such BS. I mean, he's got 40 interceptions. It's not just because he has no receivers. It's because he makes bad decisions. That's what he does. And he's proven that over 5 years. 60 games. Don't blame it on the fact that you got no receivers. That's absurd.
How about that?
All right, let's go to John in Herndon. 800-636-1067. John, what's up, buddy?
Well, I was going to call about our preseason, but I can't resist the chance to beat up on Giants fans. I mean, that was an abysmal performance, and it's wonderful seeing the Hard Knocks off-season show where you see the angst that they had with letting Sharking make the market. So just putting that aside. But for me, I'm a lifelong fan, and I've called him before. I bought seasons the day after the deal closed. I'm in for the long haul. This is a management team, a front office, a coaching staff that's all moving in the right direction. I'm happy as hell with the number 2 pick. I'm happy as hell that we picked up Jeremy. I'm looking forward to the season, so I'm happy with the season and preseason and the 2 games to date.
Perfect. All right, thank you, buddy. Appreciate it.
All right, bye.
All right.
I just hope this optimism remains. They lose to the Buccaneers in week 1.
They're going to, people aren't going to give up on the season after 1 week.
No.
We usually give up around week 6 or 7.
Week 5 or 6.
But I don't think that's going to happen with Jaden. This is going to be listen, in RG3's, in the best year we've had in a decade, or 2 decades, we started out 3-6.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, is that the year that Shanny went into evaluation mode and all of a sudden they turned it around? I can't quite remember. I think it is.
I think so.
Remember he had the press conference at 3-6 and he said we're in
RG3's rookie year.
Oh, yeah.
evaluation mode and whatever, and everyone went crazy, and then they went on the run. So we got to hang in there. The first few weeks might be tough. I think we're going to be fine, but they might go south. But we can't give up on this team in like week 5 or 6 like we have in the past.
I know. I'm
We
just
just
saying, as
can't.
a radio host, I would hope they at least go 2-2 in the first 4 and don't start off 0-4 because then people start the same old skins deal.
I know, But remember, it was last year when we were like, we won our first couple, but they were like squeakers and they were awkward. Do you remember? Wasn't it last season when we just had a couple? They were just like they weren't impressive wins, but we got dubs.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't really matter record. It matters how do we look. Are we going to play an exciting brand of football? Are we going to score points? Are we going to make plays? And I think that we're going to make our share of plays. I don't know if we're going to win the games, but I think it's going to be a much more exciting brand of football than what we've seen.
Then we saw
2-0 start
in the
last
last
year.
few
ED.
years.
Oh, of course.
2-0 start last year.
Right, but they were dicey. They were like
Well, Arizona-
unimpressive.
Cardinals barely.
They were
Broncos
unimpressive.
barely.
Yes. So it doesn't matter if we win or not. What matters is we need to, look good.
I like to stack W's though.
I know.
And I think that people are expecting wins. They're not going to just expect.
No, I want it to be exciting, first and foremost.
But I think that you're expecting wins because a lot of
I
people
think we're
think
gonna
that
win
they can
some
be one
games.
of those teams that didn't make the playoffs last year that make it this year.
I think we could.